The ghost of the city. In the heart of Shanghai, a city ablaze with neon lights and an unrelenting pace of life, where modern skyscrapers tower over narrow alleys steeped in traditional charm, lies a haunting tale yet to be fully told. Harmony Residential Complex, a seemingly tranquil neighborhood filled with bustling middle-class families, spicy hot pot gatherings, and lively square dancing sessions, conceals a chilling secret beneath its cold concrete floors. This is the story of Li Mei, a young woman with grand dreams, whose life was brutally taken in her own apartment. Her unyielding spirit, refusing to accept its fate, became a vengeful ghost, disrupting the lives of those who unknowingly stepped into her former home. This is not merely a ghost story, but a vivid portrait of modern Chinese society, where ancient customs intertwine with urban life, and belief in karma and the spiritual realm lingers in every corner of the city. Step into the world of the ghost of the city, where truths are buried deep, but the cries of a restless soul echo forever. Part 1. Urban Life. In the vibrant heart of Shanghai, China's sleepless metropolis, where glass skyscrapers gleam under LED lights and crowded subway trains rumble during rush hours, lies a modern residential complex called Harmony Residential Complex. This place embodies China's rapid urbanization, with towering buildings designed in a sleek contemporary style, accented by traditional touches like small courtyards with bamboo groves and koi ponds. The residents live at a frenetic pace. At dawn, they rise at 6 a.m. to practice Tai Chi in the nearby park, a time-honored custom preserved to maintain health according to traditional Chinese medicine. Afterward, they squeeze onto Line 2 of the subway to head to work, carrying homemade lunchboxes filled with congee and pickled vegetables or steamed buns bought from roadside vendors. At noon, housewives gather at the wet market, haggling over fresh bok choy and pork, to prepare dishes like sweet and sour ribs or mapo tofu. In the evenings, families reunite around steaming hot pots, savoring spicy Sichuan flavors, and plan weekends that might involve a movie at a CGV theater or joining square dancing groups, a popular social activity where aunties and uncles sway to modern pop or traditional folk tunes. Li Mei, a 25-year-old woman from Suzhou, moved to Harmony Residential Complex 2 years ago to chase her career dreams in the big city. With a bachelor's degree in information technology from Tsinghua University, she worked as a programmer for a major software company in Pudong, where tech giants flourish. Li Mei epitomized China's younger generation, dynamic, independent, and constantly connected to the digital world. She woke at 7 a.m., brewing a cup of Longjing green tea, a famous Hangzhou blend she cherished, before scrolling through WeChat to catch up on news from friends and colleagues. Her breakfast was simple, a boiled egg and toast, purchased from the Family Mart at the base of her building. She lived alone in apartment 308, Building 8, a compact space furnished with minimalist IKEA pieces, where she often sat by the window, gazing at the twinkling Huangpu River at night, dreaming of a successful future. Li Mei's life revolved around work. She clocked in from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., sometimes staying late to finish app development projects. During lunch breaks, she ordered food via El.Me, often choosing spicy Sichuan stir-fried noodles or Yangzhou fried rice, traditional dishes adapted for the fast-paced urban lifestyle. On weekends, she joined community activities, square dancing with neighborhood aunties, a widespread Chinese tradition for relaxation and socializing. She also shopped online on Taobao, ordering clothes, cosmetics, or small decor items to spruce up her apartment. Delivery riders, zipping through Shanghai's traffic on electric scooters, brought her packages, a hallmark of China's modern consumer culture. Her neighbor, Wang Jian, a 45-year-old security guard, had been watching Li Mei for some time. Originally from rural Hubei, he came to Shanghai more than a decade ago, hoping to build a better life. With a scruffy mustache and a habit of smoking cheap Hongtashan cigarettes, he lived alone in a narrow apartment filled with the bitter scent of alcohol and loneliness. His days blurred into routine, watching the monitors, checking locks, greeting residents, and wandering the dim hallways at night. To outsiders, Wang Jian was just another migrant worker in the city's endless machinery. But inside, years of isolation and failure had twisted him. He grew obsessed with Li Mei's bright spirit. The way she smiled to the fruit vendor, the light in her apartment window late at night. She represented everything he had lost: youth, ambition, and hope. That quiet admiration began to darken into something dangerous. Shanghai glittered with National Day celebrations that September, red flags fluttering under strings of lanterns, music echoing through the streets. Li Mei returned home early one evening, exhausted after a long day. She prepared a simple dinner: chicken soup with ginseng and goji berries, her mother's recipe to restore energy. The fragrant steam filled her small kitchen as she relaxed, unaware that someone was standing outside her door. A knock broke the silence. Wang Jian stood there, claiming there was a building inspection. Trusting him as a familiar face, Li Mei let him in, a decision that sealed her fate. That night, only fragments of what happened were ever known. Neighbors later recalled faint noises, a muffled cry, a thud, but assumed it was the sound of fireworks from the holiday festivities. When Li Mei failed to show up at work the next day, her colleagues thought she had simply taken a long weekend. Days turned into weeks. The smell of incense sometimes drifted from her apartment, though no one had seen her return. By the time authorities were alerted, the truth was buried deep beneath the cold concrete floors of Harmony Residential Complex. Apartment 308 was sealed, its lights permanently off. Residents whispered about strange sounds, footsteps, soft sobs, and the faint aroma of herbal soup filling the air at midnight. And so began the legend of Li Mei, the restless spirit of Harmony, whose dreams were stolen, but whose soul refused to fade. Part 2. The Secret Beneath the Concrete. After Li Mei's death, Harmony Residential Complex carried on with its daily rhythm. Residents were too preoccupied with work to notice the absence of a young woman. Her company assumed she had quit abruptly, and the apartment's owner, a retiree in Beijing, listed it for sale on Z-Room, a popular Chinese platform for rentals and purchases. But no one bought it, perhaps due to vague rumors of yin energy, spread by gossiping aunties during their morning Tai Chi sessions in the park. Wang Jian continued his security job, but he was a changed man. Each night, as he patrolled the hallways, he heard faint sobs echoing from the walls of apartment 308. His sleep was plagued by nightmares of Li Mei's pale face, her eyes boring into him. He tried to forget his crime by drinking more erguotu, joining colleagues for karaoke sessions where they belted out classic folk songs or pop hits by Teresa Teng. But fear consumed him. During the Mid-Autumn Festival, as families hung red lanterns and shared mooncakes with red bean paste, a symbol of familial unity, Wang Jian sat alone in his apartment, glimpsing a shadowy figure outside his window. Trembling, he lit incense and burned stacks of joss paper at a nearby crossroads, a folk ritual to appease restless spirits. He even visited the Jade Buddha Temple in Shanghai, kneeling before the Guanyin statue to beg forgiveness, but the sense of being watched never left him. 3 months later, apartment 308 was sold at a steep discount to the Zhang family. Zhang Wei, 32, a software engineer at Huawei, had relocated from Guangzhou to Shanghai for a promotion. His wife, Liu Fang, 28, was a primary school teacher, and they had a 6-year-old son, Zhang Hao. They represented China's middle class. Zhang Wei worked long hours, often returning home late, while Liu Fang handled housework, cooking nourishing dishes like steamed fish with ginger or herbal chicken soup per traditional recipes. They moved in hoping for a fresh start, joining community events like Children's Day, where Zhang Hao received balloons and toys from the complex's management. On their first day, Liu Fang cleaned the apartment, wiping down the small ancestral altar, a staple in Chinese homes for honoring forebears. She felt an inexplicable chill when touching the kitchen floor, but attributed it to the autumn weather. Their first dinner was a spicy Sichuan hot pot, with ingredients from the nearby wet market where housewives haggled over beef and greens. Zhang Hao played with his Lego set, a gift from his grandparents. That night, as the family slept, Liu Fang awoke to the sound of dripping water from the kitchen. She checked the faucet, finding it tightly closed, yet the floor was inexplicably wet and cold. Zhang Wei dismissed it as a plumbing issue and called a repairman via the Didi app, a common service in China. The following days brought stranger occurrences. Mornings, as Liu Fang prepared lunchboxes for her husband, a frugal habit among Chinese housewives, She found the fridge ajar, food scattered, and a foul stench like blood. Zhang Hao cried hysterically, claiming he saw a white figure in the bathroom mirror while brushing his teeth. Liu Fang, slightly superstitious due to her mother's influence, hung a feng shui wind chime at the door to ward off evil. Zhang Wei, an atheist, laughed it off and relaxed by scrolling through Douyin, watching funny videos or milk tea ads. Tensions escalated during the New Year holiday, as the family prepared traditional sticky rice cakes and braised pork, festive dishes even in urban settings. On New Year's Eve, relentless knocking echoed at midnight. Zhang Wei opened the door to an empty hallway, chilled by a gust of wind. Liu Fang began dreaming of a young woman with wet hair, whispering, "I'm under the floor." She woke in a cold sweat and told her husband. Though skeptical, Zhang Wei agreed to hire a feng shui master, a common service in modern China, despite government calls for scientific thinking. The master, an elderly man in a traditional robe, arrived with a compass, burned incense, and declared the apartment heavy with yin energy, likely from an unpacified soul. He advised burning joss paper, offering rice and soup monthly, and hanging Taoist talismans. The family complied, preparing a ritual tray with boiled chicken, sticky rice, and white liquor per tradition. But Li Mei's ghost was not appeased. Objects flew across rooms, lights flickered, and the stench of blood permeated the air. One night, Zhang Hao was dragged across the floor, leaving red scratches on his arms. Liu Fang wept, praying before the ancestral altar for protection. Part 3. Nights of Terror. As the strange phenomena intensified, the Zhang family spiraled into crisis. Zhang Wei, swamped with tech projects at Huawei, took leave to care for his wife and son. He grew curious, searching Baidu for haunted apartments, a hot topic on Chinese social media, blending superstition with pseudoscience. Liu Fang, terrified, took Zhang Hao to her mother's home in Suzhou for a few days, visiting a temple during the full moon of the first lunar month, a tradition for seeking blessings and warding off evil. She brought Zhang Hao to Jing'an Temple, lighting incense before the Maitreya Buddha and buying a jade amulet for his protection. Upon returning to Shanghai, things worsened. Each evening, as Zhang Wei worked on his laptop, he heard whispers from the kitchen wall, as if someone called his name. He tried digging lightly into the floor, but found only solid concrete. Liu Fang's dreams of Li Mei grew vivid. The girl recounted Wang Jian's crime, describing his scruffy mustache and the stench of Hong Tashan cigarettes. Liu Fang noted the dreams in a journal, and the couple began watching Wang Jian. They noticed his decline, sunken eyes, frequent drunkenness, and avoidance of neighbors. He still attended resident meetings on complex security, mandatory events to discuss cameras and rules, but looked haunted. During the Qingming festival, the Zhangs visited their ancestral graves in Shanghai suburbs, a key tradition for honoring the dead. They burned joss paper, offered fruits and buns, and prayed for protection. On the drive back, Liu Fang felt watched. That night, Li Mei's ghost appeared clearly, standing at Liu Fang's bedside, pale-faced with bloodshot eyes, pointing to the kitchen floor. Zhang Hao screamed, seeing a white figure glide past his window. Zhang Wei, overwhelmed, reported strange noises to the police, but they only conducted a cursory check, attributing it to building issues. Zhang Wei decided to dig deeper into the kitchen floor, buying tools from a nearby hardware market, a bustling hub for everything from hammers to drills. Beneath a thin layer of concrete, they uncovered Li Mei's decomposed body, marked with bruises that told of her horrific fate. The stench overwhelmed them. Liu Fang fainted. Zhang Wei called the police, who sealed the scene. Wang Jian was summoned. He initially denied everything, but under intense interrogation, recorded by cameras per Chinese protocol, he confessed. He described being tormented by Li Mei's ghost, maniacal laughter, her figure looming over his bed, strangling him in dreams, and the persistent smell of blood. Part 4. The Truth Unveiled. Li Mei's case gripped Shanghai. The police dug deeper, finding Wang Jian's fingerprints on the telephone cord, her murder weapon, and stray hairs at the scene. News spread like wildfire on Weibo, sparking public outrage. Residents of Harmony Residential Complex whispered during square dancing sessions, many lighting incense nightly to appease Li Mei's soul. Some housewives held a communal ritual in the courtyard, burning joss paper and offering buns and rice, a folk custom to calm restless spirits. The Zhang family, traumatized by the discovery, could no longer stay in apartment 308. They relocated to a hotel in Pudong, funded partly by Huawei. Lu Fang, shaken, joined a support group on QQ, a popular Chinese chat platform where mothers shared advice and comfort. She recounted her dreams of Li Mei, and members urged her to visit a temple for a soul-cleansing ritual. Jiang Wei, trying to stay strong, began questioning his atheism. He bought a statue of Guangong, a folk deity of protection, for their hotel room, hoping to ward off evil. Wang Jian, detained in a Shanghai holding cell, grew increasingly unhinged. He screamed about Li Mei's ghost watching him from dark corners. Guards, accustomed to superstitious tales, dismissed him, but noted his erratic behavior. In interrogations, he detailed his crime, stalking Li Mei for months, using his security job to get close, and acting on impulse after drinking ergoto. He admitted trying to live normally afterward, attending resident meetings and eating hot pot with colleagues, but the nightmares and sobs drove him to despair. Wang Jian's trial at the Shanghai People's Court drew media attention, with reports in Shanghai Daily and viral Douyin videos. Gaunt and trembling, he rambled about Li Mei's ghost, even shouting that she was in the courtroom, pointing at empty air. The judge, following China's strict legal process, demanded calm, but Wang Jian collapsed from a heart attack. He was rushed to a hospital but died. Many believed it was karmic retribution, a deeply held Chinese belief that evildoers face consequences in this life or the next. Post-trial, opinions swirled. Some felt Li Mei's ghost had found justice, but superstitious elders believed she lingered. They held a grand ritual, inviting a monk from Longhua Temple to chant sutras and burn stacks of joss paper for her soul. Families grew more cautious, lighting incense regularly and consulting feng shui masters before buying homes. Some avoided apartment 308 at night, fearing her shadowy presence. The Zhangs, though relocated, remained haunted. Lu Fang grew devout, visiting temples and attending Buddhist ceremonies. Jiang Wei explored Chinese spiritual texts, reading about Taoist karma. Zhang Hao, now 7, refused to play in dark places but wore his jade amulet. They settled in a quieter Jing'an complex, where Lu Fang continued monthly offerings of rice and chopsticks before their ancestral altar, praying for protection from restless spirits. Part 5. The Eternal Curse. Apartment 308 remained sealed, a forgotten relic in Harmony Residential Complex. The management, fearing property value drops, tried to bury the story, but rumors spread like wildfire through WeChat groups. Residents changed their routines, avoiding elevators late at night, especially during Qingming and Mid-Autumn festivals, when folklore says the boundary between the living and the dead grows thin. Housewives at the wet market whispered about faint sobs echoing from the abandoned apartment, while haggling over vegetables. Some claimed they saw a young woman's silhouette at the third-floor window, though the unit had long been locked. The Zhangs struggled to rebuild their lives. Lu Fang, though calmer, followed her rituals with unwavering devotion. On every full moon night, she placed a tray of boiled chicken, sticky rice, and a cup of Longjing tea. Li Mei's favorite, revealed through a dream before the ancestral altar. She whispered prayers for the restless spirit's peace. Jiang Wei, back at Huawei, immersed himself in traditional Chinese philosophy, attending Taoist and feng shui lectures. Before settling into their new Jing'an apartment, he invited a master to cleanse the space of lingering yin energy. Their son, Zhang Hao, quiet and watchful, never removed the jade amulet from Jing'an Temple that hung around his neck. Meanwhile, in Harmony Residential Complex, Li Mei's tale evolved into an urban legend. Grandmothers retold it to children while wrapping dumplings for Lunar New Year, warning of unchecked desire and moral decay. Teenagers on Douyin filmed ghost hunts around Building 8, hoping to capture evidence, but their footage always showed only flickering lights or the rustle of wind. Yet on misty, rain-soaked nights, those who passed by swore they heard soft weeping through the storm, echoing from the sealed apartment. Though Shanghai's skyline glittered with modernization, belief in the unseen still pulsed through daily life. Residents grew more devout, lighting incense, checking home feng shui, and inviting monks from Longhua Temple to chant sutras for protection. Communal rituals were held in the courtyard, the air thick with incense smoke and the murmur of prayers. Li Mei's tragedy became more than a crime. It was retold as a moral fable, a reflection of Bao Ying, the law of karmic retribution rooted deep in Chinese culture. Wang Jian's death continued to stir debate. Elders viewed it as divine justice, proof that no sin escapes the cycle of cause and effect. Younger, skeptical voices called it stress or coincidence, yet none dared approach apartment 308 after nightfall. The property management eventually built a small shrine in the courtyard, where residents offered chrysanthemums and burned incense. Its faint glow became a nightly vigil, a fragile bridge between the living and the dead. Shanghai surged forward, its subways busier, its towers taller, but some stories refused to fade. Li Mei's name endured in hushed conversations and late-night WeChat threads, whispered like a warning, that beneath every modern city's brilliance lies an ancient truth. Harmony Residential Complex, once a proud emblem of China's urban dream, now bore an indelible scar. Apartment 308 remained sealed, its windows dark, its door untouched. Yet on stormy nights, residents still claim to hear mournful cries rising from within. Li Mei's story lingers, shared over hot pot dinners or typed into glowing phone screens, a haunting reminder that even as the city races toward the future, the past watches from the shadows. And each Qingming or Mid-Autumn festival, when lanterns flicker red and incense curls toward the heavens, someone in Shanghai still lights a stick of incense, whispering softly, "Li Mei, may your soul finally rest." But perhaps, just perhaps, she never left.